On this week's episode, it's the best of the Punk Rock Foodies radio interviews of 2015 with the chefs, brewers, and restaurateurs.
Hey, welcome back to Punk Rock Foodies Radio on punkrockradio.net, coming at you from the Vicious Pig Saloon in downtown Mattersville. On the phone with us right now, we have fellow punk rock foodie. I'm sure you've seen his amazing photos all over the page. He is the head chef at the Yardbird Ale House in Brisbane, and it's Jason Anderson. Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Andy. Yourself, mate?
I'm good. So I did mention the Yardbird Ale House. I see that they specialize in, it says Southern and Mexican food.
Yeah, more Americans like Australian. Over here, like, the American food thing is just taken off. It's like everyone always wants to be healthy about 2-3 years ago. Now everyone's going, let's deep fry everything and make everything as big as possible.
Right.
So where Australia's heading anyway.
Well, I was going to say with Southern, I was thinking American Southern. I didn't know if that had a different meaning down under. But
it probably does. Like, sometimes I think, I don't know what that is, the phrase. And if I go, we've gone to Yard, am I cooking Tex-Mex? I'm not sure. But it's definitely a thing that's taken off here, like wings here, especially in Brisbane. All the bars now that have opened up, like wing joints and doing American-style food and hot dogs and things like that. So they're just pumping. Good. Always busy. So, we're a little bit different. We're owned by a guy who's actually a Talde.
He's a what?
So, he's a Talde. So all we got is like his artwork all around the bar and stuff like that. So we've got a little bit of point of difference in most others. You know, we sort of play heavy music or punk music in our bar all the time. We have to do a little bit different. Just normally like movies on all days, skate movies, stuff like that. So it's our point of difference that we try and push.
Gotcha.
So the music's always loud, so you don't want to go to have a conversation.
Okay. Based on your pictures, it looks very elegant. I don't know.
It does. Yeah, it's a good fit out.
Yeah.
The one in Paddington gets a different crowd to there's another one also in the Valley in Brisbane. She's a lot of the younger crowd, they sort of go there and have something to eat before they go on to other bars and nightclubs.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the one in Paddington, yeah, Paddington's more an expensive suburb.
I was talking about your pictures. They do look amazing. Do you have a special camera, or are you just using your phone, or?
I just use my phone. I reckon it's the angle.
Yeah, definitely.
Usually, like the days on that brew, like most of that food is actually served. Like there's one brew where the kitchen was actually outside, and all I look for is a bit of natural light. I always find a spot each time of the day. I go, okay, bang, I'll go there.
Yeah.
I'll just take a quick picture and hope the guy who comes to see me enjoys the food and not turning it out quick enough. But every now and then I might go, oh, shit, I've got a special to do. I might just show up on Facebook, something like that.
Yeah.
And then eventually I get opened onto Punk Rock Foodie.
Excellent. Hey, so tell us a little bit about yourself, like your background. Like, where did you learn to cook? What was your inspiration growing up for cooking? Things like that.
Well, inspiration. Okay, well, I did my apprenticeship at the Sheraton in Brisbane. Where back in the day we did everything: butchery, pastry. Went to about 7 kitchens. Won a few awards as an apprentice. Was made to do competitions. Starboards, and I went and probably it's like a rest back. I went to the QA Hotel. I said, chef, we got 6 in Australia, bistro food, and first in Queensland. Did the QA Association. Then I went back to the exec chef at 4.5-star hotel. Did that for a while. Then I had not so much personal drama, but I had got 3 kids, sort of sole parent of 3 kids, and I had to sort of make a decision. I needed to cut back or watch my hours a bit. So I went to Brewers. They offered me Monday to Friday from like 7 to 5 shifts. Did that for a while, and eventually it was time for another post to go to Yardbird. And I've been there since.
Excellent.
Yeah, so... But the Sheridan train was probably the best train I had. They were pretty, like, most of the jam and stuff like that. And they just sort of, like, push you around and make you work hard. Like, you know, you had to be there by 10, but you weren't going to get paid from till 3. Stuff like that.
And you had to do everything there.
Yeah, you did everything. So you did like fine dining restaurant, did fine dining. You went to did buffet stuff. You went and did into the pastry kitchen. You went to the cold water kitchen. You went to the banquet kitchen. You went into the butchery. You went into the production kitchen. You had a nightclub downstairs. Luckily, I didn't get to go there. And basically, yeah, just been around. Like, Sharon was good to me. Like, I was still. I can just show like just getting like hotel awards and stuff like that, like to get your job. I haven't had to apply for a job. If I can remember. Like jobs just seem to come to you and stuff like that, but it's about working hard and getting your name out there, and that's the couple of foodies and Facebook and Instagram and all that sort of everything just learned it is important. And you can sort of network yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So working at the Sheridan like that and having to do all the different everything, like what was your least favorite?
Cold larder. And I think because all I did all day was make sandwiches, and I was a first year going to a second year apprentice, and there was, this is not a racist term, but a lot of Asian women, older Asian women, and they would yell at me all the time, and they would talk all the time, and it was just kind of like a complete shook farm. So just the constant talking.
Yeah.
So that was one of the worst. And I think I was a bit rough back then too, so I was only sort of a kid. So they sort of think, oh God.
Right.
And have a go, so they got good training. They were pretty hard on me. So, which was, it was probably the best thing like, for me, I think, like, get discipline and things like that, and make sure you work early, work hard. But I didn't remember I even had a break.
Yeah.
I know when I opened Yardbird, I think my first week I was like 140 hours. I think I've had since December, I've had 6 days off. And 2 of them were Christmas and Boxing Day.
So, what would you consider like your signature dish? Like, you know, that a dish that you make that just says this is Jason Anderson.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I don't think I have one.
Yeah. Well, what's a dish that would be like your go-to dish? Like if, you know, somebody said, make me something.
Okay. So it make me something. I don't know. Things change every day. I think if I look at Instagram, I use Instagram for a cookbook, or Facebook, and I know Cookbook Foods have got that, so I get to see sort of stuff I'm looking at now. Okay, I like that. You know, some people are doing it at home. I think this is what they eat, this is what people like. Then I'll sort of take that and try and refine it a little bit.
Right.
Or present it a little bit differently or something like that. So I really don't know what I would say with my signature dish is. It's I come up with different dishes every day.
Yeah.
Because every day everything changes. I always change it around, stuff like that. So that's probably a tough question.
Yeah.
Really don't.
Well,
I'm really sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I mean that is a tough question unless it's something that you've thought about before and you actually do that. I mean, I think keeping it, you know, mixing it up and changing every day is a good thing. I mean, that's what keeps us on our toes and keeps you fresh, and you know, it doesn't get boring then. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, sometimes like I look to even like what I was doing, so when I was in 4.5 star hotels and stuff like that, my style changes to my environment as well.
Right.
And well, exactly what the punters want, or where I'm at. So, like at the moment, it's more based on like bar to drink beer, and the idea is to keep them drinking.
Right.
So, it needs them. We need a lot. The place can roll over 2 or 3 times. So, about the first 2 weeks, I didn't get off that pass from 7 in the morning to about 9, 10 at night. And you just be God, in a sense.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but the answer I'd say the finished dish is definitely chicken wings. Would be the signature there. But yeah, I know that something different everywhere you go. I don't know, you Instagram something, I might see something like David Watkins on Instagram. I really like that presentation, I like those ideas. Then for about a week or two, I'll start replicating something like what he's doing.
Right.
Doing it my own way, but using that, then I'll see something else. So I'll go,
Yeah.
Or like,
And I think
I'll just do that for a while.
I think a lot of the people, even on Punk Rock Foodies, I myself do this. You see something that somebody's made, and you think, hey, you look at it, you pick out what the ingredients are just from a picture, or if there's a description, and go and do your own version of it. I think that's one of the great things about the site, the page too.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I look at it and go, okay, bang, I could do something like that, or maybe just simple flavours or things like that, or definitely like, I might even look at a dessert presentation and it might become a steak dish. You know what I mean? I just look at the way someone might present something,
Right. Yeah.
give another flavour and do it my own way, but just using that idea of presentation or that idea of a smear or just something I just grab from a dish and I don't know, dang old. There's a bloke named Zebo Jones on Instagram that I constantly look at. Like if I just go, or Dingle Watkins another one, if I just go, oh sure, an idea. I just have a look at that and go bang, okay, I'll do something like that. So I remember even my mum, I was living with my parents for a little while there with my kids. When my mum cooked that night before,
Yeah.
it becomes special the next day.
Huh.
Oh, obviously better.
I bet that-
reckon I wouldn't tell her that though.
I bet that makes her proud.
What's that?
I bet that makes her proud.
I don't think she knows. I don't think we would make because you follow me on Instagram. I think you would have a clue. But my sister, my brother and sister was there, so it's just stuff like that. I think it's just what's around you is what inspires you.
Right.
Stuff like that. So that's sort of where. Well, okay, so yeah, that's good. That's a good thing. Like the taco food thing is a good thing. It's constantly on your feed, so you're seeing different ideas, even like being an American sort of themed restaurant that we are.
Right.
But taco food is a great source of getting ideas.
Absolutely.
Stuff.
Absolutely.
Like this.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask this question. We had Ken Conti on recently, lead singer to the Implants and the Tank, and he said that kangaroo meat is gamey.
Kangaroo meat is fucking disgusting. This is the most disgusting meat ever. I think we're the only nation that eats our national anthem. national whatever they call that. But yeah, it's disgusting. It is the most terrible meat. It's stringy, tough, and awful. And when it's medium, you can just set it medium rare or braised. It's just the flavour is just overpowering. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
So I feel weird because they do jump around everywhere here in Australia. It's all over the street. I'm kidding. Okay.
I was gonna say real quick, your favorite punk band.
Australian, Pennywise, Friends of Rom, and American Pennywise.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Well. Okay. Well. Hey, Jason Anderson, thank you so much for being with us on Punk Rock Foodies Radio.
Excellent. See you, Dana.
Thank you for all the awesome posts that you put up too on Punk Rock Foodies.
I've got 2 more to put out. I got the phone here.
What's that?
But 2 more to put up since I got on the phone. Got 2 tests. I'll put 2 up to my face.
Oh yeah. I did see I saw the one. So,
Yeah.
Okay, that's Chef Jason Anderson, Yardbird Ale House. If you're ever in Brisbane, go on by, say hi, listen to the loud music, and check out American food, Australian style. And we'll be right back after a little bit of music here.
Hey, this is Brian Reinhart, and you're listening to Punk Rock Foodies Radio Best of 2015. And we don't know what the fuck we're doing.
All right, what's up? This is Skate Rap Betty, and I'm here with Michael Haggerty, the former bass player of Fiddlehead and the current owner of Planet Yum. And we're going to talk a little bit today. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Good. So let's talk about Fiddlehead first. You were in an Atlanta-based band in the early 90s. They were pretty successful. You were the bass player, right?
Yes.
So.
Yes, I was. I played in Fiddlehead. We were in high school when we started doing that, and it was a lot more successful than we had ever thought, which, ultimately today I don't know that people have ever heard of us. But we had a lot of fun with it, and I got to play with some extremely talented other musicians and stuff, and that was just really kind of a great experience in my life.
Well, and I saw quite a few people, friends of the band too, that have started their own pages now that have gotten popularity to where, like the Throwback Thursday stuff is so popular. It seems like, honestly, more and more I listen to older music more than I do newer stuff. But, you mentioned you played with some good bands. Who was your biggest musical influences growing up, before you started the high school band? Who was it that you were listening to that prompted you to want to be a rock star?
Well, I showed up in Georgia. I moved from Boca Raton, Florida, and I think I had Twisted Sister in my little Walkman. And a friend of mine in gym class was like, here, check this Dead Kennedys stuff out.
Yeah.
And I was like, a freshman in high school in a new town, and I just really loved, the just unvarnished rawness of that. And ultimately, I started really discovering a lot of things through what was that documentary that they did with Social Distortion and Minor Threat, where they toured Another State of Mind?
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I saw that, and that kind of gave me a peek into the touring musician life, and I saw Mike Ness writing love songs to his girlfriend he missed, and I kind of got it. I understood it, and I was really drawn to that.
Yeah.
But then through DC, I think the biggest game changer was definitely Fugazi, and by the 9th grade, or by the 12th grade, we were opening up for them, so it was just kind of almost a dream come true as a kid to do that.
To see somebody in the magazine and go, this is why I'm doing this,
right.
And then 5 years later or whatnot. Well, and I figured you guys had started in the 80s because, like I said, it was in the 90s, and then I saw 94, I think, was the last year you played together, right?
Yeah, with that group, that was the last year. I had jammed with a few other guys and put another release out or two, but nothing ever really like the alchemy that happened with Fugazi. I mean, Fugazi, that would be awesome. That was great alchemy with Fiddlehead. It was a talented group, so I got a little spoiled, and it's hard to find people that I feel like I'm not I have a good level, I'm super good, but at a level I'm used to playing with musician-wise,
I've noticed, honestly, so many of the bands seem to rotate. People grow, and everybody grows at different rates. And when you have 4 or 5 or 6 or 2 people together, of course they're going to grow separately. It sounds like, honestly, all you guys have moved around and done a few different bands. I saw several credits after each of the band members, yourself included. And, so it's amazing. You had mentioned Kyle Spence, I believe, one of your drummers, had gone on to play for Dinosaur Jr.
and Jay Maskus. A lot of times Murph, their original drummer, maybe doesn't like to travel internationally, I heard, or doesn't have a visa or something.
Okay.
So Kyle,
or maybe
you can. The video in Glastonbury Festival on YouTube is with Kyle playing drums.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a talented drummer. And he also plays with Harvey Milk, with Stephen Tanner, and they're really good.
Joey Cook was writing your lyrics and doing your vocals and stuff. Yeah. So you had in-house.
Joey's doing web design now.
Yeah.
He has a pretty successful company in Atlanta, and he works with a lot of big clients and puts together websites now.
I was going to say, actually, I think he was the creator of one of the websites that I happened upon that was like, hey, I'm going to do this for my friends, but there are other people that go and look at it too. Yeah.
He had, basically, we had 3 tours we did through the U.S., and he had kept a journal, and he always felt that there was funny stories of value in that, and so he wanted to put it on the web.
Yeah.
To kind of just tell it once and have it told.
Yeah. Which, I mean, honestly, is such a good idea. I feel like, honestly, that's half of what we're missing out on bands is not even like the music and stuff that wasn't recorded, but, before we had camera phones and whatnot where everything everywhere is recorded all the time, you are missing out on some of that great stuff, some of the memories that are in between memories where the general public doesn't get to see that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
I feel like the camaraderie sometimes is really what makes a band, to see them interact. But so, and I've heard you tell several stories. I think you told me a couple of stories about Billy Joe Armstrong and stuff from Green Day. So who was your favorite band to play with, whether or not, they were well known? Like,
oh man, there was a lot of really good bands.
Yeah. Was there one that was better to hang out with?
Was good. Green Day was fun. We had fun with them, although I don't really like where they are today and stuff. But I think, he just gets on stage and cusses to a bunch of teenagers and they scream and they think it's rebellious, but it's kind of like a mockery of what it once was. We put on an early show at an existentialist church, which you'll hear them on. There's an interview on MTV where they mention it briefly, but they stayed at our house and we had fun. We went skinny dipping with some traveling girls that were following him or something, and it was interesting, and they weren't too bad. They had just gotten all their gear stolen in Alabama and showed up with basically nothing, and their van was like empty.
Which is hard. It happens, I think, more often than we think. Now it's being more publicized because things are more publicized, but that's a bummer.
You're trying to do your art, your work, and it takes a lot to kind of muster up the money to get your beautiful, amplifiers and your nice guitars, and then some guy turns into a predator on that. I just saw somebody posting something the other day about another broken-in band.
Authority Zero got hit a couple weeks ago, I think, or a month ago, a couple of them. But even a band where you think, gee, they have a big name, they're not making money. A lot of times they're sleeping on couches or they haven't had a home-cooked meal in 6 months. And
that's kind of how our tours were. We went to California we did go to California, but we went to Canada and played with a band called Flag Camp up there, and they were kind of loosely affiliated with our label, and they made some terrible pasta for us to eat. It was a nice gesture, but we were all kind of in the same boat with whatever we could sweep up off the floor, we'll throw it in the sauce.
Well, and we have Feed the Seed in Denver. One of our members here at Punk Rock Foodies is Savvy Nichols, and she promotes where she has an extra room and a couch, and when bands come through, small or big, they can stay with her. She'll bring them home-cooked meals. If they have dietary restrictions, a lot of times she can bring them vegan or gluten-free or whatever. Desserts, sweets homemade aren't something you really get on the road.
No.
Which actually leads me to Planet Yum. So, now, flash forward way more years than I want to think about. Why do I say that so much? But now you've opened Planet Yum. So you started with the Planet Yum and the Pond Scum Pops, right? The popsicles. And now you actually have a store. So we're here in downtown Vero Beach. We're in the old Pocahontas building. At the rear entrance.
Yep.
I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. I know where it is.
Yeah, it's in a weird spot on the back corner of the building, right behind the Italian restaurant there.
In the alleyway.
Yeah. It was just a production room for the last 4 years, but so many people had found me and were knocking on my door and wanted to come in and get deals and stuff on bulk buying. So, finally I open up the door to them and I have coffee. We have soft serve that's vegan here. Everything's pretty much dairy free, basically because of the FDA. If I'm going to be releasing this product, which is my popsicles, which are the primary reason why
you started.
Here. Yeah, actually they're called Ice Pops. Popsicles is a trademark brand.
I'm so sorry. Yes, I am very careful about that.
Yeah. So my Ice Pops are, sort of the motivation here. They're in 13 stores. I have them in Tampa, in Hollywood, Florida, Melbourne, Florida.
I've seen them all on the internet. I've seen them all over. I know I've run into them at least at Veggie Love and one or two other places locally here. So I've come in. I've tried your shakes and stuff. I see now you're doing food and everything too.
So basically, the reason why we don't have dairy in here is because if you do have dairy in the facility, you have to disclose it on your product. So it would be really a damage, like a kind of a ding on my product to make all these dairy-free coconut-based pops that are really yummy, and then have to put that they could have dairy in it because somebody's getting milk in their coffee or something.
Yeah.
So it's funny, the FDA, dealing with them makes you do a lot of weird stuff when you're a manufacturer.
Yeah.
And we just do what we can to make sure we're not doing anything wrong.
Well, and anytime you go from the cottage industry to professional production, I guess you would say. I'm not really sure the word for it, but once you start entering that where Uncle Sam is involved, things change really. The rules really are so different. I know that you started doing this, not just as a trend or anything, but your son actually has some dietary restrictions, so it was out of a necessity.
Exactly, It was more of like a health coming from, that's not good for you. Why don't we try and make a treat that doesn't negatively affect the kids? So that was the motivation, and I see that effect on a lot of kids, and it's been great. Like I've told many people, I get paid in smiles, so that's been most of the reward so far is just building a happy customer base and trying to grow that.
Well, and you do well at that, though. I mean, I'm a big fan of sense of respect and admiration of where you're from. Local community is big to me. I like having grown up in South Florida. I like being from the Tri-County area and still being in the I move away, but I always come back. As a matter of fact, 10 years ago when I had met my husband, I was living upstairs in the loft apartments at the building we're sitting in now. So, it's really cool that when I came in, to see that you're here and stuff, it is a neighborhood I'm very fond of. So, obviously your milkshakes bring all the locals to the yard.
Definitely.
But I see that people here are very receptive to you. They're very fond of you. Veggie Love people promote you like crazy. They love having your stuff there. The new cold brew concentrate that you're doing, the coffee I just bought, I haven't tried it yet.
You haven't tried it?
My stress level was a little high. I was afraid to add caffeine to the mix. I figured Monday I'm going back to work, and Monday is...
Okay.
Yeah, so Monday I'm going to try it. But I did actually, I pulled up like 20 recipes. So I did pull up all these different recipes. I was trying to find one, too, for something other than coffee. I was thinking maybe I could do like a marinade for a steak.
Yeah, that would probably be pretty good.
Yeah,
really
I was thinking... Yeah, so I love the fact that not only do you have, the punk rock tie-in, but, obviously we have the foodie tie-in.
Yeah, definitely. I try to bring some of that, like, independent thought element and stuff into what I'm doing. And, with the art and everything, it's street art. I like the fact that, they're trying to take back the streets instead of having to look at like AT&T ads that somebody might put something cool up there that you can go, man, that's awesome, and just reinforce a brand of nothingness, really, which is great. I think that's wonderful. So
the first thing that drew my eye when I came in was the artwork, the Florida style artwork, the graffiti style artwork. You know, it really is great. When you told me you had local artists on the wall, you know, that honestly increases my chances of coming back to any business in town. You know, tenfold right there. You know, if you would rather display, like you said, local artists rather than AT&T advertisements everywhere. Yeah, that's a big thing. Community really does go a long way. It's what you're doing here is great. You know, we hope that we can get you some promotion out of this, get the word spread a little bit more, and you know, if you guys want to come check it out, we're in Vero Beach, Florida. We're in the Pocahontas building in the alleyway. The address is
2121 14th Avenue. It's the rear suite. We're just in the back, like behind the Italian kitchen. It used to be that was one unit, so they cut it in half, and I got the
rear half.
The rear half there.
Well, and you're doing summer hours right now, so Thursday through Sunday, right? And then,
just for September. September's typically really difficult in Vero, and actually they have like a restaurant support group that just formed. There's 1,000-some members already. It's called September in Vero.
That's a great idea.
And they're just like, you know, please come support local restaurants, because I mean, I think more die on the vine in this month than
it's the end of the dry season, and honestly, it seems like season takes a month or so longer every year to come back. So, but it's hotter and hotter every year.
Yeah.
So come get some ice cream.
Yep.
And thanks, Mike. And this is Skate Rap Eddie, and this is King Friday by the Fiddleheads.
Hey, this is Andrew T, and you're listening to the best of Punk Rock Foodies Radio 2015.
That was Lose Your Illusion 1 by the Lawrence Arms, and you are listening to Punk Rock Foodies Radio, coming at you from the Vicious Pig Saloon in downtown Mattersville. On the phone with me now is artist, restaurant guy, if you will, Mark DeSalvo. Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Andrew. How you doing today?
I'm good. We're all good here. So, for those of you who don't know Mark, but you know Mark. Tell us about some of the artwork that you've done with the punk bands.
Well, over the years, I guess most notably would be NoFX's Heavy Petting Zoo, or even more notably, the vinyl version Eating Lamb. Just goes along with the theme of this show.
Absolutely.
That's, meeting Mike back in 1995. Right after I was getting out of art school, was really what helped me kick off all of that stuff. From there, I went on to do countless other fat bands, bunch of Lagwagon, bunch of, Mad Caddies, Limp, some of the bands around on the sound stuff like that, and as well as some other Epitaph stuff. Just continuing on in that scene. Basically, it's kind of fun group of people that I got to meet.
That's so cool. I think I saw you did the Surfer album cover.
Yeah, that was actually, I guess Tony Pye came up with the idea and sent my friend with it. and it's a classic rip-off of Surfer. I call it a homage, but,
They say, parody is the best flattery or something like that?
Exactly. There's a lot of competition between punk rockers. You wouldn't really notice it because they're all friends, but they definitely like to, take shots at each other, mostly in jest, but sometimes it does get, kind of, it's just fun.
Yeah,
I do have the Bad Religion, So Long and Thanks for Nothing T-shirt. So that's there.
Exactly. They go at each other.
I was curious about that cover. The original artwork from Suffer, somebody else did that, and and so you just went with it, and nothing was ever said. I mean, not that anybody would come out and sue you or sue NoFX for it. Obviously, Bad Religion and them are tight, but you don't know who did it. You never met them or anything like that, huh?
I actually should probably take a look at the liner notes on Suffer and check that out. To me, it's one of the most iconic punk rock albums there is,
Yeah, totally.
So it's easy to do a parody of. It's harder to do a parody off of an album that no one's ever seen. And it being, no one's going to get the joke. So, I'm not even sure who did that cover.
To the internet we go.
I was just given, said, hey, put him on a beach. I was like, okay, cool. I think the only idea that I threw into it was, to try to get some of that sort of same depth that the street lines of the houses and stuff. I threw in a little beach tower there just to try to emulate a little bit of that.
Right.
Because with the sidewalk lines and all that, you don't have that on a beach.
Right, the perception, yeah. It was a fun project. It's always, anytime you're doing anything with Fat Mike, it's fun, The Heavy Petting Zoo album, he actually sat down on the floor and pretended he was holding the sheet. I guess I should thank you because I actually have that image tattooed on my arm.
Oh, wow. There you go.
I'll send you a picture after the interview. The artist did a great job with it, so I think you'd appreciate it.
That's cool. I didn't really realize it, but that album's kind of becoming a legendary, iconic punk album. Now that it's 20 years old, I think.
And I believe the vinyl is banned in Germany, I believe.
That's always good. When that album first came out, there were a lot of magazines that did reviews on it and just blurred the whole album cover. It's nice to be banned.
So I mentioned that you're like a restaurant guy. You've worked a bartender and worked in many restaurants. I don't know how long. Like, how long have you been in the restaurant business?
It's always been more on the bar side. And I guess, I started back when I turned 21, bar backing in a brew pub in San Francisco, and started bartending there, and was there for quite a while, all the way through art school. In fact, actually, one of my buddies at Fat Records at the time, he needed some spare change. He was interning at Fat, and I got him a job at that brew pub as well. That's Tom Ward, if you're out there. Hey, buddy. Started there. The food we had was good. The beers were great. The craft beer scene in San Francisco has always been big.
Yep.
When I moved down to LA, I was actually just in a bar, but, I love bartending, and that's what I, mainly do. The managing jobs that I've had in restaurants have all stemmed from being the, I guess, most responsible person at the place.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, exactly. The next thing you know, you're making less money but working more hours.
Yeah.
That's never a fun thing, but I have got to work in some fun restaurants with some, great cooks. I like cooking a lot. My wife is an amazing cook as well. And so yeah, that's kind of neat. I've just moved down to San Diego, and I'll start working at a new, what's his name, Richard Blaze, what do you call those, game show chef winner? What was he on?
Too many of those game shows to figure it out. Is it Chopped or
it was like
Master Chef?
Iron Chef.
Iron Chef?
Not Iron Chef. Not Iron Chef. The one on Bravo.
Top Chef.
Top Chef, yeah. I guess he got second place on his season, but then came back and ended up winning like Top Chef Champions or whatever.
Okay.
Something like that. But he's got a couple good restaurants down here in San Diego, and one new one that's just about to open. But I will start training with their bar managers on Wednesday. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's awesome. I always love the bartending jobs that I've had. My brother actually was in a similar situation where he was the most responsible at the restaurant he was working at, and he actually turned down the manager job because he knew he'd made more money serving. So.
Yeah. But, that's exactly what happens. It's more hours, less money, and more headache. Next thing you know, you're there at 7 in the morning to let the janitor in, or the plumber in to fix the plumbing from the night before. And they don't pay you extra for that stuff.
Nope. Salary position.
Food-wise, I'm a bartender, and I definitely like incorporating all sorts of fresh produce and whatnot into cocktails. But that's just something that usually when you have a restaurant attached to the bar, you have cilantro, you have jalapenos, and the next thing you know, you have a super awesome spicy margarita.
Yes.
So that's how it works.
Yeah. Experimenting with all those ingredients that are there. That's one thing I always love doing, especially on a slow night in the bar, and just having some fun. I invented a great drink with bacon one time because of that, and I have it every New Year's.
That's always something I'd like to put in Bloody Marys for sure.
I've done a braided bacon that I baked and brushed with honey sriracha and stuck that in the Bloody Mary. Now that it tastes like after you eat it's like barbecue sauce because the tomato juice and the spiciness of the sriracha, and yes, that's very good.
I can imagine. It sounds quite tasty. I might have to experiment with that one myself.
Yeah. So some of these restaurants that you've worked in and bars that you've worked in, what are some any like meals that stand out in any of them? I know that mostly in the Los Angeles area is where you've done a lot of your work, but
Chef Michael Reese, who is the executive chef at Crew and Proper, the last place I was at, his shrimp beignets were just insane. It was a New Orleans themed restaurant, and beignets are a classic New Orleans dessert. But he, twisted that up, threw in a bunch of shrimp, made it more of a savory thing, and it was definitely the best selling thing on the menu. But everything on that menu is amazing. So
I think New Orleans food is one of the best foods that this country has.
I definitely can agree with that. It's, I guess I would think of it as like the first fusion food, because you've got all those sort of Caribbean,
the French and the
things brought in with French. Exactly, it's all
absolutely.
It's hard to even tell where it all comes from, but it's here in California we just call it fusion.
Right.
When you mix this or that, and it's fusion. But what the great thing about it is it's not like super fancy cuts of this or that. It's peasant food in a sense. You don't have to be rich to eat well.
Right. Yeah. So you were saying that you love to cook. What is one of the dishes that you make? It's like your go-to. Maybe like, I don't know, someone's coming over. Not that you really want to impress them, but it's just a good meal that's fun to make and tastes delicious.
From a restaurant I worked at up in San Francisco, sort of swiped the dish off of their menu that was always a good date night meal. Halibut paillard. You just take a fillet of halibut, you sort of mash it all flat onto a plate. You sprinkle some fresh cut ginger, some cilantro, some scallion onions on top of that, and you just flash fry it and stick it on the plate for about 5 minutes. Drizzle that with a little mixture of sesame oil and soy sauce that you heat up on the oven to get it nice and sizzly. And be careful because the plate's hot, but eat it straight off that plate. Super easy, super tasty. But I haven't done that one in a while. My wife is vegetarian. So that was an old classic. Last night I made what did I make? I made a romesco, basically just some almonds, some baby red peppers, garlic, throw that all into a pot, let it cook for a while, blend it, and I poured that on top of some creamy polenta that I added a little bit of Parmesan cheese into, and that was that. So on the side I took some brown butter and sauteed up some asparagus and chickpeas. And yeah, that was our meal last night.
Oh, sounds
vegetarian. She's actually, she used to be vegan, but now we can use butter. So. Butter and cheese is incorporated into her diet since we're married.
I was going to say, man, I've always said I can't, the one thing keeping me from being vegan is cheese. It's too good.
Dairy in general. Well, what happened is she actually, after a trip with her talk with her doctor, he said to maybe incorporate eggs, just like the egg whites, the protein. That's such a good protein.
Right.
And so she started trying to eat eggs, and that was the gateway drug that got her onto dairy.
All right. Well, good. Well, I'll give you a little tip. I was doing a vegan thing one night a week. I wanted to just cook vegan. The only night. It was only for dinner. And the one thing I did was I would, instead of ground meat, and I didn't want to buy any of that fancy vegan stuff they sell in the stores, I would use beans and just mash the beans up. So I made lasagna where I used my mom's meatball recipe, but instead of ground meat, I used mashed up beans. I put all the other spices in there, and it tasted just like meatballs. I mean, it was...
Yeah, no, definitely. The meatball shop that I was running for a while, our vegan ball was basically made... It was butternut squash and chickpeas was the main base.
Yeah.
And people love that.
Yeah, as long as you get the seasoning right, no one's the wiser.
Well, the texture, I mean, you're never going to get that chewy, stringy meat texture.
No.
But it's, like I said, the flavor matters, not the texture.
All right, Mark, is there anything, you said that do you know the name of the restaurant you're going to be working at there in San Diego?
Yeah, it's going to be called the Crack Shack.
Nice.
It's basically, like I said, Chef Richard buys sort of, he's got a really fancy place that's right next door to it. This is going to be like slightly scaled down, not as rich, more acceptable, I guess, to the common folk like me. But the same bar program, which is what I'm looking forward to getting into. And yeah, just chicken and eggs all day, basically, is their motto. So as a guy's a pretty creative chef, I look forward to seeing what the menu looks like.
So when you're in San Diego, check out the Crack Shack. Say hi to Mark. He'll be behind the bar. More than likely. All right, Mark. We were talking before. You said you've been really listening to the new Toy Guitar album a lot, and
Love that album.
so we are going to play a little Toy Guitar. Take us out of here. This is Human Hyenas. You are listening to Punk Rock Foodies Radio. Thanks, Mark.
This is Brian Reinhardt, and for some reason you're listening to Punk Rock Foodies Radio Best of 2015.
All right, what's up? This is Steve Guerrero, and you're here on Punk Rock Foodies Radio. I am sitting with Chef Extraordinaire, Executive Chef here at Haven Restaurant, Mr. Chef Greg Daniels. What's up, buddy?
Not much, man. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing good, man. Good to see you again.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah. So you've been kind of all over the place. Just got back from New York.
Yeah, we go out there once a year and just kind of see what's going on in the food world, and go out to a bunch of great restaurants and reward our culinary team each year by doing that. It's fun.
That's rad, man. That's rad. Well, that kind of brings us into our topic. We're going to be talk about Under the Influence, which is a couple different ways to kind of decipher that. So let's talk about your influences. What got you kind of cooking in the first place?
Man, I think that my love for this industry started at a really young age. I had a grandmother who was a waitress at Chris and Pitt's in Norwalk, and she was the head waitress there for over 20 years. We went there all the time as kids, and going into a restaurant that your grandma works at, her friends would just dote on us, and you saw the camaraderie that really happens in a restaurant, and it doesn't happen in a lot of businesses, but restaurants just have that feel. They're a little different, and so getting that at an early age, that kind of exposure to that lifestyle, I think I had a better mindset for it than most.
Yeah.
Kind of knew what I was getting into.
You kind of saw the intimate side of the kitchen, whereas most people just see the service area and all that. But you kind of saw the
I saw the fun and the fun part of it. This business is tough. I mean, it's a lot of work, and there aren't a lot of rewards. You get to go and do radio shows and stuff like this, which is really fun. But the serious side of it is, you're working your ass off, and you're trying to make $1, and the profits are low, so you have to really like what you're doing. That's kind of the point that I'm driving at. You have to really love what you're doing, and that's where restaurants, they provide that. If you're into making people happy and, serving great food and drinks and just kind of providing an atmosphere, you give up a little bit. You give up a little bit of time with your family and friends, but you get a lot of things in return, and your family gets a lot of things in return as well. A little more flexibility. But yeah, I went into the actual business side of it at 15. I started working at Kentucky Fried Chicken. I lied about my age and got in there. Did whatever I could. I was cashiering, running the drive-through, but interacting with the back of the house at the same time in a small environment. And again, I saw that camaraderie and that relationship between restaurant workers that really appealed to me.
All right, it's a total team effort, and you got to have good players there, or else the whole operation can fall apart. You've done a really good job of kind of hiring great sous chefs and bartenders and people that know their stuff. And you've been on the culinary scene as Haven for 6 years now?
Yes, 6 years. We celebrated recently.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that. And I think that's right around the time that the term Gastropub became kind of a buzzword. I think it was already popular, but a lot more people started kind of getting into it.
Yeah, in Orange in particular, like people would walk by and see our sign, and they're like, "Gastro, what is this? Like some sort of intestinal problem?" And and so we had a little bit to overcome in Orange County. Now everybody's calling themselves a Gastropub, and I'm trying to take the name off. So it's just
come and go in the culinary.
They really do, and we really by putting it on our name, we really attached ourselves to the Gastropub scene, and we're very proud of it because it came about organically when we were building this place. But the fact of the matter is that once things become just way too popular, and then we're looking forward to not changing, because we're still doing the same thing that we're doing, not necessarily changing, but just kind of, we call ourselves Haven now. It's not, it's not about that. It still says Haven Gastropub, but it's, it's more about it being Haven.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about like the nuts and bolts of this restaurant. I know that your mindset, you're really into sustainable foods and local purveyors and craft. What would you call it? Like just culinary craft, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's doing stuff yourself. It's that DIY attitude. It's kind of, if I can do it, I want to do it. And I'm excited to do it. It's just ketchup. The fact that we made our own ketchup when we opened, that was more of just because we could.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to make something. I wanted to make it better than what I thought was out there. I still eat Heinz all the time. Don't get me wrong, I do. I love it. But I thought for our restaurant, we wanted something that was ours, and that's kind of how we've taken it from the start. Is make it what we want it to be, instead of trying to make it what everybody else wants it to be.
Yeah, I've been coming here since day one, and since I think the first day you've had the shrimp and grits on your menu. That's just one of my favorite items around here. It's just to die for. But a big seller and a really popular item is Haven Burger.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that, because that's pretty badass burger.
Hey, that is what has made us here. We it was for the longest time, and it almost still is at this point, was 10% of our sales or more was just from one item, and that's pretty unheard of. But the Haven Burger, I set out to create a burger that hits you in all of your taste buds, and started off with a great patty that's 65% chuck, 15% short rib, and 20% pork fat. So that eliminated a lot of people just for they didn't want pork, but we did that so that we had a juicy burger even if you cooked it to well done. And then I topped it with Senegal blue cheese, which is kind of this mild, rustic textured blue cheese that isn't too off-putting for those that don't like blue cheese. It adds like this umami, meaty, rich flavor.
I think
to that meat.
that brings the burger in and ties it all together. When you get that like crunchy on the char, the meat itself, and that creamy cheese. I mean, it's just
I love it. It like melts into the meat. It's fantastic. Then we threw arugula, some peppery arugula on top of there, some roasted red bell peppers for sweetness. Pickled red onions that are simply pickled in seasoned rice vinegar. They have just a nice bright acidity to the dish. Some house-made garlic aioli, and put those on some OC baking brioche buns. And it's a good-sized burger. It's a 9-ounce patty before we cook it. And I have trouble finishing it by myself, but I make a point of eating it at least a couple times a month.
Yeah, it's a good one. The under the influence theme, let's kind of veer towards your other place. This is Haven Provision, or just Provisions, also in the Circle in Orange, and it has got a heck of a bottle shop and a great tap list. I know that you are really proud of your beer program and what you do there, and the beers that you're able to get. Talk about some of the beers that you have, or some of the what goes into like picking out the ideal beer.
I think that's a big conversation right now. My business partner Will, he helps to choose the beers and gets the menus together. The overall vision of it is what we have decided from the very beginning is to be different from everybody else. And so, being that so many people are doing craft beer now, it's everywhere. You see it up the street at the breakfast joints and everything else. It's popping up everywhere. We've got craft beer. Awesome. It's a win for all of us. Truly, it really is. But as business owners and as people who help to kind of lead that in Orange County, now we're looking, what do we do with our beer program? So what we've done at Provisions and what we continue to do is we seek out the harder to get beers. We try to stay away from anything that that is mainstream, even from some of the more respected craft breweries. We just won't carry things because they're everywhere. And we recently have parted ways with a few big breweries that were bought out by major macro brews. So the reason why we're doing that is not necessarily that their beer is any different, but because we want to support the little guy, and they don't need our help anymore, really. You know, we have breweries like Stone that certainly don't need our help either, but Stone has a vast portfolio, and they put out some really cool stuff themselves, so we continue to...
And you get some of those... I mean, Stone, even though they're so big, when they do these limited release, they're still hard to find. I mean, everybody's looking for them, and I know that when they come out, I can come by your spot, and you're going to have it.
Yeah, and I know that people still want go-to IPA every once in a while, too. It's a great craft.
Yeah.
So, with that, we're a Russian River account. We were the last account given in Orange County before they cut them off, and we get Pliny the Younger every year at Haven. And
that beer's awesome. It was a good time.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. It's an honor to be able to have it, and again, kind of pointing out what sets us apart from other places, and the mass majority they're doing it now. So yeah, it's about getting those beers nobody else can get. We have relationships that Will and I have built over the past 6 years or longer with some, where we get those beers that other places just don't have the opportunity to. And it's just based on relationships, and I think that's what separates the little guy from the big guy is those personal relationships that you build.
Yeah, and I'm not a player in the craft community, but I've seen it from the outside looking in, and it is such a tight knit community. It's like a brotherhood and sisterhood. It's a cool thing that's happening in Orange County and all across America for that matter. That there's just all these really rad craft brewers. They're so eager to share their knowledge and their experience. I mean, it's just like a whole different set of artistry,
Yeah, for sure. There are so many great ones in Orange County that are here now and coming out soon. So we're definitely making our mark in the craft beer world.
Any fall beers that I should be on the lookout for?
Oh man, you know what? I love pumpkin ales. I really do, and smashed pumpkin. I want to try their barrel aged version that I haven't seen before, but I did see that recently. I want to give that a shot. I love the sour pumpkin ales that that breweries like Almanac are doing. They're just way different. Cascade did a great one a couple years ago too. So those are the ones that I like, and then I like moving into the stouts at this point. I love it. I'm ready to step away from the IPAs and get into those warmer beers. And, looking for those kind of sessionable ones that are under 10%. They're a little harder to find, but no.
After I leave here, I'm actually going to go buy provisions and pick up a couple Campfire stouts. I'm sending one to our admin, who's also a host on here, Brian. So you'll be getting one of those, buddy.
There you go.
Yeah, so,
killer.
Yeah, and also when it kind of cools down in California, which gets to like 60, and we have to wear hoodies.
Eventually.
Yeah. I know that you like your bourbons, and your whiskeys. What's a good recipe that maybe some of our listeners can make at home this holiday season?
Oh man, that's kind of put me on the spot, but I love a great Manhattan. I mean, it's sipping and watching TV late at night. My go-to is Bullet Rye.
Yeah,
it's just so. It's a great whiskey for the price. So my go-to is Bullet Rye and some Carpano Antica vermouth, and a little orange zest. But that's it. Really simple, and I love tasting different whiskeys, which is something that we're getting into a little bit more at Haven. We're gonna be having some different programs with our whiskey, so you can get flights and go around and taste them. And that's based upon the fact that we love doing that. We love being able to try a few different things, and we've done it with beer for so long. And so now getting into the other areas that people want to venture out and try new things. And in the whiskey world and the spirits world itself, there are so many craft competitors now that are coming into the market, and it's really, really cool to see, and it's fun to try these little upstarts. There's one blinking out that's starting in Santa Ana.
Really?
Yeah, we've got one coming to Santa Ana. It's going to be really cool.
Killer.
Yeah.
I've actually seen some distilleries go the opposite way and distill in beer barrels now. Have you seen that? Is that a trend that's kind of coming out?
Yeah, I've seen. The one that pops to mind is this Jameson barrel series they're doing.
Yeah.
Because I know we have one downstairs right now that we can taste after this if you want. But basically, their barrels went to a craft brewery that they did a stout in it, and then the barrels went back to Jameson, and then the whiskey was put into those barrels. And you can taste it. I mean, you definitely get the character of the beer out of it. And then the other ones that are off the charts good are Charbet. Charbet has a hop-flavored whiskey. It's called R5. It's distilled from Racer 5.
Oh, wow. That's one of my favorite IPAs.
Yeah, I mean, that's, there you go. And they have another one, too, that they distilled from a different base mash that they did there. So those are awesome. Those are like $250 a bottle. But they're like, you taste hops, sticky hops on the whiskey. It's really
That's
cool.
got to be kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I'm going to have to try that.
There's a vodka, too.
Really?
Yeah, there's a hophead vodka. So, yeah, they're beer is getting it's so huge right now. It's crossing over, and you're seeing it crossing over into spirits. You're seeing it crossing over into coffee crossing over into beer. But Portola, they're doing these beers at Theorem right now that are made from coffee. There's no beer in them at all, but they're supposed to taste like a Pilsner.
Whoa.
Taste like I mean, I haven't gotten in there to try them yet, but it's supposed to be kind of mind blowing, right?
Yeah. That's the culinary world just doesn't stop. Like it just kind of it's constantly evolving. It's a really cool thing to kind of be a fan of. It's stoked on you that you're here and I get to kind of be able to come down to like my local spot and just eat like a king when I come down here, man.
Yeah, man. There you go. And they're still cooking with beer, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, we cook with beer all the time, and that's my favorite thing to do, especially coming into fall and winter, doing braises and things like that in beer. Can't be beat.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, wow. Well, I'm going to have to keep coming back by here. So, once again, this was Chef Greg Daniels with Haven Gastropub and Haven Collective in the city of Orange. If you ever find yourself in Orange County, you got to come down here. You can go big with the Haven Burger, or you can go really big with a bunch of friends and get the Suckling Pig, which I've seen it and I have not experienced it yet, but my 40th birthday is coming around the corner, so might be making a reservation.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Well, you want to take us out with a song? A song that's influenced you, a song that gets you fired up to cook in the kitchen, a little punk rock to.
Oh man, anything from Mariachi El Bronx would be killer.
Perfect. All right, man. Well, this is Punk Rock Foodies Radios, and here's Mariachi El Bronx.
This is Skate Rap Betty, and you're listening to Punk Rock Foodies Radio, the best of 2015.
All right, you are listening to Punk Rock Foodies Radio on punkrockradio.net. With us now on the phone is restaurateur, if you will, John Bush. He's from, not originally from Brooklyn, but Brooklyn is where he calls home now. How you doing, John?
I'm doing fantastic.
Great. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I've read up on you. You're originally from California, and you're originally a barman. And
yep.
So just go ahead and tell us how you got into the industry, I guess.
Well, I kind of ended up in New York on accident. I never really planned or wanted to live in New York, and then when I was on tour with the band, me and my girlfriend broke up on tour. It was go back to San Francisco and sleep on my buddy Max's couch, or stay in New York, which I was in, and sleep on my buddy Ethan's couch. So instead of taking that long drive, I ended up in New York. And this was in the early 90s in New York, which was basically a bartender at those days where it was the best. You just made a lot of cash, and each village at a time, different place. And I made a lot of money, made a lot of friends, and kind of just fit into New York really well.
Yeah.
I worked at bars here in New York off and on for 20 years now. Well, I'd say I worked at bartending for 14 years. I opened my own spot about 6 years ago. I can get into a long story about me making the San Francisco Police Department test and going very close to becoming a police officer, but be on this radio for about an hour. I told that story.
That'll be on Punk Rock Police Officers Radio.
Yeah, exactly. But the highlight of that story was the Fat Mike effect. Loaned me a bunch of money to open my first restaurant bar, basically so I did become a police officer.
So, and that was the Thistle Hill Tavern?
That was Thistle Hill Tavern. That was, I think we just hit over, I quit Niagara 6 years ago, so it's been like 6 years ago we started building the restaurant, and, we opened Thistle for probably about a year and a half. Dale Talde, my business partner at the time, me and Dave, my other business partner, opened up Thistle Hill. And Dale was just getting off of the second season of Top Chef, and was kind of telling us that, like, when he gets out of that, he really wants to roll that into him opening his own restaurant.
Yeah.
So he's like, when we were building Thistle Hill Tavern, he's like, do you mind if I come hang out, pick your brain a little bit, see what it's like? So you hang out off and on. Always asking questions, cool. We all became more and more friends throughout it. And then when we opened, it became opening night. It was amazing. It became the next night. I'm really drunk at the bar. I was like, man, I want to open a bar with you guys. Or a restaurant, I should say, with you guys. And me and Dave kind of looked over his shoulder at each other. We're like 2 days later, we were looking for spaces. And a year after that, we opened up our first Talde.
And was that, that was
Talde Brooklyn.
Okay, Talde Brooklyn, yeah.
And that's only about 5 blocks down from Thistle Hill Tavern.
Okay. And I've been to Thistle Hill, just had a drink, and I've been to Pork Slope, which I loved.
Pork Slope came from when we first opened up Talde. I was realizing, Thistle Hill closes at midnight, Talde was closing at midnight, and we'd get out of work and realize, people were in construction, like, there's nowhere to go have a drink. We always wanted to have a bar. And, knowing me, I always wanted to have a bar, especially. So when we were looking around to open up, we came up the name Pork Slope first. We don't have like a barbecue bar called Pork Slope. It's one Pork Slope.
Right.
And then when we found the place, it was a great deal. We opened up. We're having a great time. And then probably within 3 months of us opening, we found out that Dinosaur Barbecue was opening 4 blocks away. So the three of us sat down and said, we got to change our concept. So we kind of went more for, a beer whiskey bar with, a roadhouse, good burgers, good nachos. Like, I take just like bar food, but one notch up. It's a little bit better than your, big bar that, they all look the same, they all have the same food, it's all cheap. They all want to do something that's like food he craves.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect description. I mean, it was. I was there a couple years ago, and I had the chicken and waffle sliders.
Really good.
Oh my god, that's got to be like one of the top sellers. Those were so good. I was craving them, and my girlfriend took me to IHOP, and I ordered waffles, chicken fingers, and a side of bacon, and like built them myself at the table. But and the whiskey selection there is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean that's what I really wanted to go, like real whiskey and heavy, real beer whiskey heavy. There we have probably 4 or 5 boxes of tequila at the beginning, and then probably 300 involved in whiskey, and probably 45 different beers. I mean, it is a really cool place. My specialty is the burger, and all me and Dale did was we were chasing burgers over and over and over. And finally, I go, dude, just recreate the McDonald's hamburger. And it did, with real meat, and it was incredible.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Still incredible.
I'm gonna have to get back up there. I have a friend that lives in Brooklyn, so.
You got my number, so you can pick me up.
Absolutely. I also love the. I bought a Pork Slope T-shirt. It was the black one with the red and green pig outline on it.
Yeah, it's the unless my brain's not working. The Tribe Called Quest.
Well, and I saw one of the waitresses was wearing the Bad Brains version, and I was like, I want that one.
Yeah, we did a bunch. Like everything we did is kind of, very low. We only make about 60 shirts each run, and we're always kind of making something a little silly, a little funny, a little something that people will recognize. But I always like the idea of small runs. There's just lots and lots of different shirts out there. People are like, again, I never saw that one come out. I never saw that one come out. And just, every once in a while, we want to do seller, maybe we'll do another run of it. And usually, 6 dozen is about it. I like that number. You get about 100 shirts out there.
Yeah.
And we give away, it's probably as many as you sell. So, every band that comes through town gets them. Every pro skater that comes through town gets one.
Yeah, well, that's advertising. Advertising when they wear them, so.
Yeah, and it's tough enough.
Right.
And we see them all the time. People on Instagram and Facebook or on interviews or other things wearing our stuff. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, I think it was Limo from No Effects there wearing, I thought it was a Bad Brain shirt, and it was actually porcelain shirt.
Perfect. I'm glad he's wearing it.
So you've traveled all over, pretty much all over the world, right? I've
been everywhere. I mean, I spent a lot of time traveling. 68 countries is what I got in my belt right now.
Nice. What's the one country that you think has the best food, or you can't wait to go back to eat?
For just talking food?
Yeah.
Japan.
I've heard that many
100% Japan. Best food I've ever, of all my travels. I mean, there's a lot of countries you can go to, and I really like their cuisine. Going to Thailand and eating Thai food is incredible. But that's all you're eating.
Right.
You're not getting anything else. When you go to Japan, it's the broad spectrum of food that you can eat there, from all the different kinds of Japanese, just Japanese different cuisine, from sushi to ramen, soba. It's just so. You get incredible French food there. You get some crazy food there. But Japan's definitely by far my number one favorite place to eat.
I interviewed Spike Slauson, and he had said that the food in Japan is like soul food in America.
It's incredible. I mean, and it's funny, me and Spike have been to Japan together a few times. We were there last year together, and me and him and his wife and my wife found the best soba lunch spot. It's just the heart of Kyoto. And it's just I haven't forgotten that meal since. Ever since then, soba's at that bar now. It's not that good. It's not that good soba. I've never found anything that's been that good.
Well, I guess I got to get to
I'm also a bit of a crazy ramen head. My partners think it's funny that I'll eat ramen today. 90 degrees, exact humidity. I'll go eat a hot bowl of food and take sight.
Well, I guess I got to get to Japan. So we were talking before we came on. You have a restaurant now opening up in Miami soon. Talde, Miami.
I do. Well, I just opened. We opened another Talde in Jersey City, New Jersey.
Okay.
That I'm on my way to right now. And with that, and then next to we have an Italian concept also called Carino Provisions. It's like Dale's Italian food. Believe it or not, it's incredible. He makes some great pasta. But we have a Talde there, and then in November 1st, we're opening up Talde Miami Beach, at the new Thompson Hotel at 40th and Collins. And it's going to be, all the hits from Talde with a little bit more edge towards seafood there, a little bit more edge towards a little bit healthier there, a little bit more robata, a little bit bigger of a kitchen so we can do a little bit more stuff.
Like a little bit more play with Southern Florida, Caribbean type spices.
Exactly. Dale always says he cooks his food with whatever local ingredients he can find. And, one thing I'll say about Dale Talde is that man can cook.
Yeah, well, two seasons of Top Chef, right? He was on All Stars.
Yeah, he was Top Chef. He was on, Top Chef and All Stars. And he did Chopped, and he's done every major cooking show there is.
Yeah, well, I've enjoyed the meals, the food that I've eaten at your restaurants, the couple that I've been to.
Thank you very much.
And I look forward to getting back to Brooklyn and trying out some more.
Just let me know. Next time you're in the neighborhood, make sure you let me know.
I will. I do have one more question, which when I first heard the NoFX song that we're about to hear, all my friends in New York, how big is your apartment?
Well, back when in those days, no joke, I lived in a 6x8 room.
Wow, that's like a prison song.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, back in those days, I was like in my 20s, and it was like that was just like my cell where I went and slept. Like there was just, you know, when I was young and wilding out in New York City, I only was home for sleep.
Right.
Like I was out. I'd like wake up, take a shower, go out. Come home, take a shower, go back out, and I'd sleep. And that was it. Like, you know, I worked a lot, hung out a lot, had a lot of friends. But then, you know, I was young and just so hyped up the city. So the idea of like staying home and not being out in it was just not a reality.
Right.
So it was, you know, it was a little easier to you know, to live in an apartment like that when you're single in your 20s and wildly. Not like now that I'm 45, married with a dog.
Yeah. All right. Well, John, thank you very much for your time.
No problem.
Like I say, when you're in Brooklyn, check out his restaurants there in the Park Slope area. They're all within walking distance of each other.
They are.
Yeah. And up next here on Punk Rock Foodies Radio is NoFX with all my friends in New York.
Yeah, let's get fired up. This is the best of 2015 Punk Rock Foodies Radio.
And that was The Brews by NoFX, coming to you live from Long Paddle Brewing Company.
What's up? This is Skate Rap Eddie, and you're here with Sarah Dingle and Matt Gauthier of Long Paddle Brewing Company. I have Mike Barson here with me, who's stepping in to drink some beer in my stead.
Taking one for the team.
What's up, guys? How is everybody?
How are you?
Awesome. We're brewing some beer today. It's a nice hot summer Sunday day, and we're out here, and they're showing us the process on how to brew some beers, and we're pumping them for questions and stuff. So let's get started. Let's go right into it. Before we get into talking about beers, what do you guys do for a living when you aren't brewing beer?
I'm a sous chef up at the Trump National Golf Club here in Jupiter.
Oh, great.
I've been the banquet chef at Mar-a-Lago for the past 4 years.
Awesome. So chefs as well as beer brewers? Brewers,
yeah.
Food and beer.
Yeah. Brewers? Is that?
Brewers, yeah.
Well, that's great, and that's great that, you guys are local. I've known you, Sarah, since, Rocky Point, Stewart, we grew up, and that was probably a little longer than I'd care to admit ago.
Agreed.
And, yeah, so it's nice that, to see other Floridians still in Florida. And so as far as being chefs, how did you make the leap from chefs to home brew?
Well, Matt wanted to brew beer, so for his birthday about 4 years ago, I bought him everything we needed to make our first kit.
Great.
Oh yeah, it was a big treasure hunt. So I had to search all over the house to find a million different things to make our first batch of beer, and it was like a mad scientist experiment in our kitchen, which quickly expanded to being able to do 15 gallons in our garage.
Yeah, well, and I'm a big fan of the do-it-yourself. So,
absolutely,
budget Betty and stuff like that. That's great stuff. Like anything where I can do to at least get started, at least you're getting started. So, yeah. And we had talked earlier about Dogfish, I believe.
Yes.
And you had told me that when they started out, before he became like an official brewing company and went legit and everything, that you guys are bigger now
than he was when he started. Yeah.
Yeah.
He started out brewing 10-gallon batches in his garage. We can do 15-gallon batches in our garage. But with the laws in Delaware, he can actually sell it out of his garage. We can't when we're just doing it for fun anyway.
Yeah. More of a personal consumption and, yeah. Well, and so how long have you guys been brewing then? How long has it taken you to get to the scale
Just over 4 years now, I think. It was 2011 we started.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good length of time. I'm assuming you've picked up several tips. I see that some of your stuff looks pretty official. It's definitely not as do-it-yourself anymore.
We very quickly expanded. It took us 2 batches on the stove to graduate to a big burner outside. And then we went 3 more months into it and brewed 15 times and ended up getting kegerator and making a kegerator in our garage.
Yeah, I saw
so it expanded very quickly, and then we leveled off. For the last 2 years, we really haven't bought any equipment, and it's been $50 a batch.
Roughly,
giving us 5 gallons of beer to drink.
Yeah.
So it's cost effective for us now.
Yeah.
So, where do you take it from here? What's the next evolution of this process?
We try to give as much to as many people as we can. We've been to distributors. Obviously, being here with you and being on Punk Rock Foodies is really going to help us get it out there. We've got almost 300 likes on our Facebook, which is a lot more than we ever thought. We'd love a backer, but we think that a home brew supply store would be the path of least resistance for now.
Yeah, we bring a bunch of people in, brew with them, give them our beer, sell them some other beer, and
ways to
teach them how, and get more people into making their own beer, and really expand the industry that way. I think is a niche here in North Palm and Lake Park that hasn't been filled yet.
I definitely feel like the learning process and the sharing process is something that is just getting bigger and bigger, and I'm so stoked to see it. Even as someone who, sews for a living and loves cooking and stuff like that, when I see people that are more and more interested in getting hands-on, we have backyard chickens, we want bees. The reason we want bees is to have people come and learn about bees and, go to schools and stuff like that. So it's great that you've considered the aspect that not only do you want to do this and maybe make some money off of it and enjoy what you do, but you also want to help other people go out and be able to do it too.
It's a wonderful sense of community.
I like neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
It's a part of a community.
And sharing.
I like it when people aren't afraid to teach others what they know.
Yeah.
I may be able to teach you how to weld, but I can't teach you how to weld good.
Yeah.
And you guys can teach people how to brew, but everybody's recipe is going to be different. Like you said, you could give me the same ingredients, but it's going to be totally different.
Knowledge is power. And if you teach somebody anything, they're only going to make the rest of the community stronger.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
We love throwing up the garage door and having people come over and just want to try it or hear about it even.
And the social aspect of it, is obviously undeniable. Yeah, it's fun to sit around in the summer in Florida and drink a few beers. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We got some burgers we're going to enjoy too in a little bit. But let's talk process. So what's your favorite brew to date? Or, even we could go brew day. So what was your favorite as far as the product you came out with?
I think for Matt's birthday one year, I threw him this huge party, and I brewed like 3 or 4 batches on my own.
Without my knowledge. She secretly brewed on days where I had to work 16 hours.
Nice.
And I brewed this one that was a Sailor Jerry ale. We took an American ale. It was brewed with fresh pineapple and vanilla beans, and I soaked oak chips with Sailor Jerry and fermented that in the beer, and the flavors were so complex and so amazing. That's probably our favorite.
Yeah, she bottled it and let it age for a couple of months, so it just really came together. And I gave it away for Christmas presents at the club, and everybody really loved that beer. And unfortunately, we don't have any more.
Yeah,
but
kind of a
otherwise, we'd certainly give that to you to try.
Certainly on the list to brew again, though.
Oh, it's definitely on the list to brew again. That's got to be one of our favorite beers to date. I mean, other than the bacon maple stout.
Oh, God, that sounds delicious.
It just sounds awesome.
Which has got real bacon in it and Vermont grade V maple syrup. I mean, it's not vegan. It's not.
Cheers to not being vegan.
Yeah, there's nothing waste friendly about it. It's a good one, and this batch we have now comes in about 11.5%, but it's so good.
Yeah.
And none of the beers we make are artificial. I mean, you get a lot of these fruity
Colors.
beers and colors and stuff. They put artificial flavoring into it. And we make an apricot beer that blows Magic Hat number 9 out of the water.
Oh, yeah.
Sarah won't even
Which
drink
is a
it.
big seller.
She was her big go-to beer when we ever go to the ale house or something.
Yeah.
Was Magic Hat number 9, and she won't even drink it anymore because she's like, well, mine's better.
Yeah.
So we'd like to bring that to the community where everybody else has got their own beer at home that, mine's better.
Well, and even I have seen bringing the growler in, you know what I mean, to the brewer, and as far as the recycle sense in me, I really appreciate the fact that the reusability is pretty great, I am assuming that a lot of the containers you guys have here and stuff are...
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we got 5-gallon soda kegs that we bought from Coca-Cola or Pepsi that would have just gone into a dump. Now we're using it, and we continue to use it over and over again. I mean...
And all of our bottles, we bought all those bottles full, and drain them ourselves.
You poor thing.
It's rough.
It's a terrible
really rough.
experience.
And typically when we give the beer away, all we ask is we just want the bottle back.
Yeah.
Because we can sanitize it and use it again. They can go on for forever.
No, and even we were talking earlier, even the leftovers after your brewing process can be reused. So it's actually a relatively friendly.
Farm animals would eat your
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. It's actually a relatively friendly process.
Our dogs love spent grain dog treats. We just some peanut butter, a couple of eggs, and
instead of like oatmeal.
Right.
Yeah.
Same basic concept.
Yeah. Awesome.
And
okay.
we had a patch of.
I made dog treats a couple times, and then I got lazy. And then
Exactly.
Now,
It's a hard time.
But I mean, now I can't buy it. You can't buy them in the store. Jesus.
Right. Because who knows? You might be recalled next week.
They're too scary. Yeah.
But it's also good fertilizer. We've dumped it on flower beds. And
I mean, we got the flowers right there. That shrub and the beer we just put in the keg. That I'll shake up and we'll pour over the flowers, and that's just nutrients that's going to go right into the soil and make those flowers really bloom.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I hadn't even thought about gardening. I had read up about farm animals and stuff,
and so the grains, your farm animals will love them.
Well, and I think as far as a favorite brew day, I know you guys had mentioned that there was a day, I think you tapped out, you brewed like 6 beers in one day?
It was like a 14-hour day.
We did a marathon brewing day where we had 2 burners going.
Whoa.
We were brewing 10-gallon batches and 5-gallon batches, all grain and partial mashes, excuse me, all at the same time. So it was a little crazy trying to get it all organized, but it was a lot of fun.
But we were dry. We had just moved and we had no home brew, and it was the first time in 4 years we had nothing. So we had to amp up our stash a little bit.
All for the love of beer.
All for the love of beer.
Well, and it's a multi-step process, so at least you said you only had 2 burners, but while you have those 2 going, once they're off, and in the next process, then you start over. It's like row.
Yeah, I mean, we have one boiling away and adding hops to it, and the other batch had already been steeping. So once we clear that one and cool it down, we're ready to boil another one and steep yet another one.
That's
So it's like just juggling, like a round, like you said.
Yeah, rounds. Thank you. I couldn't think of it. There's not the row your boat, but yeah. So I have. So we talked about too the fact that you had barrel aged a beer too. As a matter of fact, you showed me the barrel that you had over there.
We were able to purchase from a small batch distillery in Texas a 5-gallon barrel, which is a lot easier to store and take care of than a 55-gallon barrel.
Definitely.
So we made an imperial chocolate stout, and with great, proper, rich cocoa. And we aged it in the barrel that they had already used for one of their blue corn whiskeys, and it was amazing because it got their flavor and their barrel and our flavors, and
a beer that just could not be reproduced over and over again. I mean, it just
would
never be able to make it again. But
each flavor, each barrel would differ
slightly.
Yeah, of course, from what was in the barrel and then what result you got too. So
that was really special that they were willing to sell a barrel, and we were able to buy a barrel and keep it and make awesome beer in it.
So I have a question though. If you use the barrel once, can you use the barrel again?
You can't re-sanitize it. So.
Well, I'm curious because I was thinking, you go from whiskey to
that'd
beer.
be fine.
So as long as okay.
But to put beer back into it, you couldn't do it because you couldn't clean it.
Yeah, you couldn't get out of the wood.
So the leftover beer that would be in that wood would grow things that you wouldn't want to produce flavors. I mean, nothing grows in beer that would kill you or hurt you in any way.
No, but it would still affect
it would affect the flavor.
Still produce an off flavor.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure because, like I said, I knew that you reused it in the fact that it was a whiskey barrel at first. But no, that's pretty great. What So, I mean, I see you guys had a great spread for us today. We had some buffalo chicken dip. I believe it was dairy-free, too.
100% dairy-free.
Yeah, super good. I really enjoyed that. I have some burgers here that Mike and I brought. We're going to mow down. I made them like little buns, so we're going to try to make like sandwiches out of them where the burgers are the buns. So we'll see.
Fun.
It's kind of an inside-out hamburger.
Yeah, and before we go, what is your favorite pairing so far of either a beer that you have made with your favorite meal that you like to do together, or even just something that you like to cook because it's a brew day and you like to, have something out there while you're...
Well, the buffalo chicken dip's always we love that with
That's
beer.
A big brew day or boat day snack that we take people out on the boat. We bring a batch of that with us. And, of course, the Black Chat's Cream Ale goes well with that, along with the Paddle Session IPA. I mean...
Yeah, that one's one smelled amazing.
Yeah.
I think
And you made brats in that, in the IPA.
I did. Yes, that's a good beer pairing. You take a pale ale brat and you cook it in your own pale ale that you make, and then you drink that pale ale along with it, and it's not comparable to anything else. You know?
Good magic.
Pale aleception.
I do like my exceptions. Well, that sounds good. Well, guys, let's go ahead and grub out, and thanks again for having us.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
All right.
Punk Rock Foodies!
All right, I'd like to thank Steve, Brian, Skate Rat. I'd like to thank our interviewees, Jason Anderson, Michael Haggerty, Mark Salvo, Greg Daniels, John Bush, and Sarah Dingle and Matt Gauthier. Check out their restaurants, their food, their beers, anytime you're around their areas. I'd also like to thank the people at the Vicious Pig Saloon, downtown Mattersville. And I'd like to thank you, the listeners, as always. You're the ones we do this for, pretty much. Check out Burning Rose Studios for your graphic and video needs. And on Facebook, check out Betty Gear. And, of course, check out Punk Rock Foodies. Make food, post a picture. That's simple. Keep your ears peeled for some more best ofs. All right, Happy New Year, everyone. Bone-Ape-Tit.